Hey BKF community, we are so excited to kick off something new and special as a ministry. To celebrate 5 years of ministry and over 270 episodes, we want to share our most inspiring episodes with you this summer. These episodes are full of real and honest blended family discussions, life-changing moments, and practical tips for your marriage and blended family, and so much more. So for this summer season, tune in for the top BKF episodes of all time. These are moments that have inspired us, challenged us, and brought hope to not only us, but to so many blended families and marriages. And we hope that these episodes bless and inspire you. Be blessed in all that you do.
When the opportunities came, it's almost like I started looking for that.
Yeah.
So when the opportunities actually came to grow, where the friction wasn't so high, where we could hug each other and say, hey, how are you? You know, when those opportunities came, I noticed them as an opportunity and I leaned into them.
Your blended family has a 100% chance of success when you do it God's way. We are Blended Kingdom Families, and we want to provide biblical resources to heal and restore families with a message of hope for the next generation.
Hey guys, welcome to the BKF podcast. We are so excited to be with you today. Just a quick reminder, if you haven't already, take an opportunity, like, share, comment, leave us a review, leave us your feedback. You can always email us at info@blendedkingdomfamilies.com. We would love to hear from you. And today we are so excited to be welcoming a great friend of ours and a great friend of the podcast and the ministry, Miss Rachel.
Yes, Rachel, welcome to the podcast. We're so excited to have you here today.
Thank you so much for having me. Super excited to be here with y'all.
Yes. Well, you guys, I want to tell you a little bit about Rachel. She's just amazing she's doing so many things. But Rachel Scott is a wife, a mother. She's an Ohio native. She graduated from Kansas State University and the University of Mary, where she obtained her Bachelor's of Science in Sociology and Master's in Business Administration. As a writer, speaker, and brand mentor, she has been featured nationally and internationally on television, podcasts, radios, devotionals, and blogs. Let me tell you, if you're not following Rachel, you need to go follow her right now. Go look her up because she has so much wisdom and knowledge to give you guys. She's just amazing. She's also the host of the Taking the Leap podcast. Scott and I were privileged to be able to be guests on that. She interviews the most amazing people with the most amazing stories. It's phenomenal. She's the founder of I Can't Come Down movement. She is a former Huffington Post contributor, Hope Writers host, and Compel focus group leader and current YouVersion teacher. If y'all look at YouVersion, y'all, she's on there doing those daily devotionals. That's Rachel. She's also a Moody Radio Cleveland partner and a writing personal branding coach, which Rachel, I'm gonna need you to help me with my writing. So I'm gonna be signing up with you.
I got you.
But she is also about to release her new book come March of 2024 with Moody Publishers. And I cannot wait to get that, Rachel. I know you've been working so hard on that. We're so excited for you. She's deeply devoted to serving God, loving and honoring her husband, and raising her children in a godly home where they experience authenticity and learn to embrace their imperfection. So Rachel, again, welcome. We cannot wait to just hear from you today and hear your heart.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here and honor you all are my friends. And I love all the things that you're doing for blended families. So such an honor to be here.
Awesome. Well, we're going to have a lot of fun today as we kind of jump into this series that Vanessa and I are doing, which is really looking at the bio-parent, step-parent relationships, the dynamics, these unbelievable dynamics that exist in blended families. And Rachel and I both have a unique perspective because we're step-parents. But Rachel, you were also telling me not only are you a stepmom, but your kids also have a stepmom. So it is, again, the complexities of blended families. And that's why on this podcast, we love bringing on different perspectives because there are so many perspectives to have. And there are so many complexities in blended families. So we just like to bring those folks on, speak encouragement to them, speak wisdom into them, and hopefully improve your relationships. So on the blended family front, Rachel, before we dive into specifics, just kind of give us an overview of kind of what is your blended family situation?
Yes. This is where the fun begins, right?
That's right.
Yeah.
So my husband and I, we have 2 children together. And I had 2 children from divorce. He had 3 children that from his first wife who passed. So he was a widow. But then our oldest son is actually his first wife's son. that my husband adopted and brought in because he wanted to keep all the children together. So that's kind of our dynamic, 7 of us total.
Wow.
And my ex has remarried and he has a child as well. So there's multiple dynamics in that as well.
Whew.
Wow.
Man, I'm gonna tell you
Yeah,
something.
told you it's loaded.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to figure out how you get it all done in one day. It's a lot going on.
Rachel has a cape. She is Superwoman.
Superwoman.
Grace of God.
Yeah.
Is my cape.
Yeah.
So
good.
I'm going to assume all of these relationships have changed over time. So, obviously when they first got introduced and when you and Willie first got married, I mean, there's some complexities that exist in. I want to ask just kind of a global question first. This is a big one. What have you learned as both bio mom and stepmom about blended families that you would be like, this is what I've learned. This is the main point that I would take away.
I would say that give grace for growth.
It's good.
Like, no matter where you're at in the blended family journey and how challenging it may seem, and you feel like we'll never be like that person over there. I could never see that. Allow the grace that it could grow to that place.
Okay, whoa. So you just dropped something here, and I got to go back to it because I think everybody in blended families is looking for the breakthrough. They're looking for the breakthrough in their relationships. They're looking for the breakthrough in healing pain. And if you ask them, they're like, I would love a great relationship, but it's just never going to get there. But you dropped the grace side of this. You said grace for growth. So explain what that means. Why are those two hand in hand?
In my journey, there were seasons where I just felt like this was just going to be difficult for forever. Like it's never going to get easier. It's always going to be hard. And as long as I embrace that mindset, that's exactly what I continue to experience.
Yeah.
But once I said, if the opportunity comes for us to grow from here, I would take that opportunity. When the opportunities came, it's almost like I started looking for that.
Yeah.
So when the opportunities actually came to grow, where the friction wasn't so high, where we could hug each other and say, hey, how are you? When those opportunities came, I noticed them as an opportunity and I leaned into them. And those helped us to grow as in our co-parenting dynamic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I love, Rachel, when you were thinking of that, it just made me think of like God giving you the eyes to see like those opportunities. And as we lean into his grace, and it's only by his grace that we can do, I say, supernatural things, and that he can do the supernatural within us and in those relationships. And so I love that you said that you were looking for those opportunities. We talk about this a lot in mental health because it's what we think is what we speak, and what we speak is then what we act upon. So if we're constantly thinking about negative thoughts or negatively about a person or a relationship, or this is never going to get better, you're absolutely right. It's not going to get better because we've already planted that and we're feeding that, so to speak. And so I love that you were saying that you were looking for those opportunities, because it's one thing to pray and say, okay, God, I want you to do this, or I wish this, but it's one thing to say, Lord, please place those opportunities so that I can practice my faith, so that I can lean into that grace and do that. And so I thought that was brilliant.
Well, and when you see parents, and this is the part of blended families that's a little bit frustrating, is we know as parents we're going to stumble and fall. We just know that. We know that. And when you're a bio parent, you get this kind of, I wouldn't say free pass, but it's like you can't go anywhere else. So kids are not, you're not going to get judged that way. But when you're a blended family and you fall, or you mess up, or you ask for something that's a little bit outside of the box, you're going to get the kind of a judgment eye on you of, are you being as good a parent as I am? Are you doing this as well as I am? So that's where the opportunities to show grace, when you are being humbled to say, I could step on you, but instead I'm going to lift you up and show you the grace. And that starts building relationships. It seems simple, but it is complex.
Yeah.
And so before the podcast started, you and I were talking about, being a stepdad, I think is similar to being a stepmom, but it's not the same, because men and women we're just wired differently.
We're different.
We just different, and that's okay. God made us that way. So I want to just ask you to kind of maybe tell me, What is the difference you think between a stepmom and a stepdad?
To be honest, I feel like as a stepmom, we are way more emotional. Everything is just super emotional for us, and we take so much personally.
Yeah.
And for what I've noticed with my husband is it's more matter of factly. These are the facts. This is how this works. It's not that deep, and that balance has actually helped us a lot, because the emotional side of me wants to respond out of emotion, and his logical, just, this is how it is. It's going to be all right. We're not going to let this ruin the world, has really helped me to balance me. So I would definitely say the emotions versus the more logical. And I had to understand this about my husband, because it could almost come across like he didn't care.
Yeah.
It almost came across like, well, because you're not in my position, you don't understand. And honestly, when I look at how he's a stepfather to my children, and, even for me being a stepmother to his children, there was a difference, because I was more emotional. He was more logical, like, okay, I am helping fill this role. Even the conversations he had with my ex was like, listen, I am here to help you. I'm here to help support what you are trying to do as the man, that's helping to raise the children. So I'm not replacing you. I'm here to come alongside you. So there was more of a logical piece where for me, I had to kind of balance the mothering versus the stepmothering and what that looked like and things like that.
No, that's good. And, I know because I'm not a step parent, I grew up, in a blended family. My mom was a stepmom. I had a stepdad, but not being a step parent, I don't really know what that's like, but when it comes to having that relationship with a stepmom, I know something that women face a lot of, and we were talking about this before the podcast, is comparison, Rachel. And we see that a lot with bio moms and stepmoms. I would say more so than bio dads and stepdads. And not that it's not there, but I think that's something in general that women just really struggle with. And so, I know that you have a story about that and how the Lord worked with you in that. Can you just share that with us and maybe just give any encouragement for anyone that's listening that's maybe a bio mom or stepmom, and they're just they're in a rough season with one or the other and just struggling?
Yeah, I love sharing this story, because this is the moment where God checked me. Okay, this is the moment where he got me together. So every time I would send my daughter out for her summer vacations, I would always get her hair done real nice, and it would be freshly done. And then maybe within a week, her hair would be taken down. And I'm like, what is going on? I just spent all this money to get her hair taken down. And then her stepmom would redo her hair. And so the first couple times it happened, I was just super frustrated the first couple summers. And one day I'm going to tell you all, Jesus has had to work on me. Okay. So this is pre him working on me. I decided I was going to braid her hair in really teeny tiny braids. And I was like, if she takes her hair down in these teeny tiny braids, it's going to take her a long time to do. Okay. So I sent her with her hair braided in these tiny braids, and she took her hair down. And I was like, what is going on? Why is she doing this? And I remember God telling me, what you're doing isn't right. See, the reason you are sending her with her hair done is because you feel like she can't do it herself. And the reason that she is taking it down is because she's trying to prove to you that she can take care of her. And it's this battle going on between the two of you, because you feel like she's not qualified and she feels like she has to prove herself to you.
Wow.
And that's not right.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, okay. And he said, you need to check your heart. And so that took me on a journey of checking my heart, as far as why was I doing the things that I was doing? Why did I believe that I was just such a good mom and I was so perfect, far from it, that I was the only one that could touch her hair? And, the hair is just it's minor, but some ladies out there, it's a big thing.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you, it's a big thing, and why did I just feel like she was just so inadequate that she couldn't do it? So it was a pride thing that I had to work through. And once I began to work through that, that's when the relationship shifted. Because I said, hey, would you like me to send her down? I know you all are going to be doing this. How would you like me to handle that? I invited her into the process.
That's good.
And I noticed that from there, I shifted in how I saw things, because I was able to see myself on her side, on the other side. And this is why, this is the big part I forgot to mention. The same thing happened to me. When I came into my stepdaughter's life, her grandmother was a stylist. And so her grandmother would do her hair, and then she would do her hair because she felt like I couldn't do it. And I would fix her hair because I'd say, well, I can do this. I know how to do a girl's hair. And so God showed me the same thing was done to you that you're doing to her.
Wow.
And it is because you don't feel like you don't want to feel the way that she feels.
Yeah.
You've been in her seat. Why are you doing that to her? So long story short, it really gave me a different perspective, and I was able to see both sides and shift how I responded to things.
Yeah. What
so
comes to my mind is in now being a step parent and obviously thinking back, I think people underestimate the desire of acceptance of step parents. As a step parent, we desire to be accepted into that role. And as much as we would love the child to accept us into that role, which does take time, we would also like their bio parent to accept us into that role. Yeah. So our desire as humans for acceptance from other people is always very strong.
Yeah.
The idea of comparison, also very strong. But it really, if you flip the script and you're a bio parent, understanding that that is so important to that step parent, you can supersede this and go, hey, I know what they're striving for. Just like your example, her desire to do the hair was just her desire for your acceptance, for your acceptance in her in that role. So I think that you can do a lot for your relationship and the bio mom, stepmom type relationship if you just kind of jump the gun and go, hey, let me just move to acceptance and make sure they know that.
Well, and I think you said something so profound, Rachel, that I want to go back to. You said, I invited her into the process, or you were talking about when you invited her into the process. And I think with acceptance comes invitation. So when you give people that invitation of, hey, and you know, as a step parent, I know you've said, Scott, like, you know what, I'm just trying to do my best. I don't know what I'm doing. But as the biological parent, when we can say, you know what, like, I'm inviting you into this process like you did, Rachel. I'm inviting you in. Like, I want to get your feedback and your input. And I think that in itself makes people feel seen. It makes them feel accepted. And I know that probably not only was it a big moment for you and that happened with you, but, you know, for her as well, bringing her into that process.
Mm-hmm.
So
Absolutely.
I love it. That's beautiful.
Well, and going back to our goal of this podcast, which is to encourage bio mom and stepmom relationships. We've touched the really sensitive parts, which is comparison, which is, sometimes competition, sometimes, but there are other things to be considered. So, Rachel, any other parts of that relationship where you would love to inject encouragement or inject your wisdom of, hey, this is what I've experienced?
Yeah, I think that a lot of times when we are looking at the dynamic of the stepmom and the bio mom, we don't realize how much of our personal history goes into how we interact with them. And so, I want to encourage you to look at your own personal story. Like for me, part of the challenge for me, even in my journey as a mom, is making sure that I'm being a good enough mom. So if anybody comes in and is almost a threat to me accomplishing that, it can be challenging for me, right? Yeah. So I want to encourage you to just look at your own story and say, how am I injecting my story into this story? And it doesn't need to be there. And anyone else that God brings alongside to support and to help is a blessing to the child.
Yeah.
I can't have it all. You all said earlier, like the S on my chest is not there. I can't do all the things, but I want my kids to get as much as they can. So I just want to encourage the mom, the stepmom, that your role is valuable.
Yeah.
Everything that you do is helping the child to flourish and become who God has called them to be. And that is what this is all about. Our children are on loan to us. I truly believe that they are on loan to us. And we are really just trying to help move them along the path that God has for them. And when we remember that this is not our story, this is their story, that we're coming along, we're just characters in their story.
Yeah.
What role do we want to play in that story of life that they have? And so even for me, I realized that for my stepchildren, their mom had passed. And I never wanted them to feel like I was replacing their mother. Mm-hmm. So I had to ask God, like, what is my role in their life? And one thing I noticed they always came to me for was wisdom. Like they may not come to me for getting my hair done, taking me to do this, taking me to do that. But when they needed some wisdom and they needed some godly counsel, they came to me. And so I took that role seriously. If they called me, I'm like, okay, they need godly counsel, Johnny on the spot. You know, that's the only time they would call. And I had to be okay with that. So just identifying what is my role, what has God called me to be in their life, and let me do that to the fullest extent.
Oh man, there's so much wisdom in that. It just made me think, you know what, God, they're his children before they're ours, and we're entrusted with them. But Rachel, you said something, and it just made me think that, it's so easy, I think, in blended families and as biological parents and step parents for us to make it about us and not the child and not the Lord. So when we can look at it from that perspective of, God, this is all about you and their relationship with you and, how they're going to grow in you and who you've created them to be, I think that it almost like washes everything away, like the comparison, the competition, you're just like, you know what, none of that matters. And that none of it matters. And so I don't know, I just caught that when you said that. I was like, man, that is so profound when you look at it from that perspective.
Yeah. I mean, as a step parent, I have come to believe, I would not say that I started out believing, I have come to believe that God has put me in a place to insert things into my stepchild's life at a particular time. So that the last part is the most critical part. Is there are times as a step parent you will stand on the sidelines and you will watch other people celebrate victories.
Yes.
That will just be your role. You will not be at the front of the line, you will be on the sideline. And then, as you said, there are times when that phone call comes that they say, I need your help and I need what you have. And they trust you at this point to provide that for them. So as any step parent, stepdad or stepmom, grace even to yourself is so important. Grace to the other parent, so important. But also know that God has prepared you and he is preparing you for a certain interjection or a certain time in that child's life. And I love what you said. I mean, and it's so true. We are characters in their story. We are characters and God's written their story. Go ahead.
Yeah. And there's two more things that came to mind. The first thing that I feel like my role is when I'm kind of sitting on the sideline is I'm an observer. Like I see things that my husband doesn't necessarily see that I can bring to his attention. So I'm able to see, and I have to be okay when God has just called me to observe what's happening. I would see things with my stepkids that because everyone else was so close, they did not catch. And because I saw it, I could say, hey, babe, you might want to address this specific thing. But the second thing is my role as a godly wife to their father is so important. Because after the dynamic that they had walked through, and even for my children, they needed to see how a godly husband treats a wife. They needed to see how a godly wife treats a husband. And so I took it seriously for them to see what it looks like to live in a kingdom household. So that right there, if there was nothing else I was doing, I'm like, okay, I want you to see Jesus flowing off of us in this marriage so that you can duplicate and replicate what that looks like. So those two things are huge.
Yes. Makes me think of the blended kingdom family right there.
No,
I love it. I love it. Well, Rachel, we're coming to the end of our time, and we always ask this question to all of our podcast guests, but it's, the name of our ministry, Blended Kingdom Families. What is a blended kingdom family to you?
So good. A family that honors God first, no matter what dynamics they have, and a family that chooses to seek God as they move forward in everything that they've been called to do.
No, I love that. I always love getting everybody's idea, what that means to them. And I keep telling Scott, I'm like, we're going to have I think we have close to 200 podcasts. So I'm like, we're going to have 200s of those. And it just be really cool to listen to. But Rachel, before we go, we want to tell people about your resources, where they can find you, all the things. I know that you and Willie wrote this book, Better Than Blended. I read this when we first started our blended family journey, or when I was looking for resources. And then you also have some resources on litigation, because I know that is another part of your story, which we're going to be releasing our litigation book. So we're going to have to get you guys back on the podcast so that y'all can share that with us. But can you tell everybody where they can find all of your resources and even your podcast now that you're doing, and where they can find you, all the things.
Yes. So you can find me at rachelgscott.com. My husband and I at thescottsofficial.com. So we have some things going on there.
Mm-hmm.
And you can find the books and resources for blended families on thescottsofficial.com. And my podcast is Taking the Leap with Rachel G. Scott. Talk about all things leaps, all the 5 different leaps we take throughout our life. And on all social media handles, I am Rachel G. Scott.
Yes.
Awesome.
Well, and you guys, I'll say it again. I follow Rachel, and she's every day putting out just wisdom and encouragement. She loves the Lord, and we met through social media and have become friends. But Rachel, thank you so much for being here with us today and sharing your heart and wisdom with us. We love you so much.
Thank you so much. I love you all so much.
Take care. Guys, thanks so much for joining with us today on the BKF podcast. We hope you've enjoyed this episode. Love to hear from you. Guys, can't wait to see you next week as we continue the journey of talking about bio parents and step-parent relationships. You guys have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Be blessed in all that you do. Hey friends, so glad you were here with us today, and I hope you enjoyed today's episode. You can find more resources from Blended Kingdom Families at blendedkingdomfamilies.com. Join us again next time as we talk about more blended family topics. Be blessed in all that you do, and remember, nothing will be impossible with God.